there. I'm Carly Marley, and this is the 420 Lifestyle. And we are here today with Becca, the owner of Vancouver Seed Bank.
Hello.
And she also, from what I hear, used to have a show herself on Pot TV.
Yeah, I did. Like way back in the day, I sure did. Yes, yes, I did. It got a little bit busy for me, so I couldn't like maintain it. But yes,
That's very cool. So, welcome
Old
to Pot
school.
TV again.
thanks.
So we have
Pod TV alumni.
Yeah, good to be back.
interesting episode, this episode, I think, because we're going to be talking a lot about alternative medicine and some of the fun psychedelics that are out there, and just a lot of different substances. So I'm pretty excited. We're still waiting on our guest, and we'll see when he shows up, but we're going to do stuff anyways, because...
Mr. Chris Bennet hopefully will be in the house, unless he
Fingers
totally
crossed.
forgot.
But
He knows he's supposed to be down here, apparently.
we have a bunch of the substances that he knows a lot about that we're going to be trying out, starting with Kratom. Here, wait, I'll bring that on the little camera. And this is Bali Kratom that I got from the Urban Shaman, because
So
I've heard this
sourced-
stuff from
sorry,
Bali.
This is sourced from Bali. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. And Alyssa in studio had her first experience with Kratom the other day.
You should join the seats here. Yeah, should I get you a seat here?
Yeah.
Whatever you, yeah.
I
Okay.
like the microphone idea.
Okay. She's running around doing stuff. Yeah, I've never tried Kratom either. I've had other stuff from the shaman before. They used to have something there called Blue Lagoon, and it was what was it? It was a substance that was almost like an ecstasy. It had the same kind of feeling as MDMA when you took it, but it was all natural substances. And I believe that Kratom was one of the substances in it, but it had something else, and I'm forgetting the name of it now. But another thing that's popular in the shaman. It's not on here. Use this one, Alyssa.
Thank you. Yeah, apparently they don't have that anymore, the Blue Lagoon.
No, it was cool. I liked it. It was fun.
I would have liked to try
Sounds
it.
good. Sounds nice.
I heard
does
about it and I
sound
was like,
fun, yeah.
that sounds way better than all this other stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
So tell us about your experience trying Kratom the other day.
Well, I had never tried it before. Well, I had it a couple years back, but I don't remember actually feeling anything. I think they were like, maybe try more. So I was like, sure, let's try it again. And then I took the first sip and it was really grainy and I was like, whoa. I was like, it's really gross. And then they're like, yeah, you just kind of have to like not breathe and just gulp it back. And I was like, okay. Ugh. And then they're like, make sure you got water because it's going to be like sticky all in your mouth and like on your throat. So do you have water with you?
No, I don't. That's good to know. I will make sure we grab some. Yeah, we have juice, but we're gonna drunk that. Yeah, we're just gonna,
Yeah.
that would be awesome.
Excellent.
All right.
And
that's
it felt
good to know.
weird. Felt really weird, like jittery, anxious-ish, but like my extremities were numb, so it was nice. It was like nice in some ways, but not in like a just breathe and be able to talk like a normal person without like overthinking it and then stuttering. I was stuttering a lot, like it was like actually getting stuck. Like it would be like, and I was like, oh, okay, what am I trying to say here? So, and then like continue on. It was kind of trippy, but so maybe not while you're working. Try it for your first time. We have to explain different herbs to people, but yeah, I liked it.
And you did a fair dosage, right?
Yeah, I did 3 grams, and not a good idea to do it on an empty stomach. I might have done a little bit on an empty stomach. Ish. I mean, I ate, but it was like a few hours prior, and I didn't really think about it because I had to eat fairly recently, and I wasn't hungry. So I was like, oh shit, that's probably why I felt weird. But otherwise, it was pretty good. And they said just do a lower dose
Yeah.
and try eating food. Some novel concepts.
But overall, pretty pleasant. Did you have any like hangover kind of a feeling-ish afterwards when it started to wear off? Was there any negative feelings afterwards?
No, I found it was like almost relieving when it started to go away a little bit because I was feeling that like anxiousness in like my chest area, like where you just like feel like that constrain. But the next day, I felt really weird in the morning because it was fairly late in the day that I did it, like 8 at night. And then I felt weird in the morning, and then I was like, oh, I'll drink some tea. That'll make me feel better. And I puked it up almost instantly. And I was like, what's with that? And my friend Madeline was like, might have been the kratom. You probably should have eaten some toast with it instead of just going straight for the tea. And I was like, there seems to be a pattern here.
Yeah, solid food. All
Yeah.
right.
So.
Chris texted. He's spaced.
He's spaced. Okay.
He said, "Is it too late?" And I said, "No." And he said he'll be here in 15 minutes.
Perfect.
So he'll be down.
It's
Awesome.
Monday. What can you do? It's busy.
Yeah.
Everybody gets distracted.
It's a busy time right now in the community
Oh,
for
so
everyone.
busy. Yeah, after 420 is still like, it's like kind of convention season, right? So
It's
everything
true.
starts happening in the spring.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we have a third co-host today as well.
Special guest. He does security for the seed bank. Yeah, it just keeps everybody in line.
He does too.
He does good work.
He's gonna do kratom too.
I don't know
He's
about
gonna
that.
supervise and just
Yeah.
make sure that we're okay.
Kratom king.
Yes.
Make sure we don't get up to any hijinks.
So judging by Alyssa's story and some others, and the fact that I generally have a pretty good tolerance with things, I don't know, we're gonna just go ahead and drop this 5 grams into the lemonade, shake it up. Yeah.
I'll get you water.
And then
That's a good call.
I'm just gonna split
Give it
this.
some tries.
It's just really, it's like a powder of
Yeah, it's got a bit of a graininess to the texture of it.
I
grain.
imagine from the look and stuff that it's like matcha.
Yeah,
From looking for
totally.
it.
Actually,
That
totally.
is, it almost
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
kind
That's why I
of
went with the lemonade.
not even tastes like it, but it kind of reminds you of that
yeah,
a little
the
bit.
texture,
The texture and
totally
everything.
matcha-like.
All right.
Definitely.
Makes sense.
Yep.
Makes sense.
I've never heard anybody have like a negative experience with kratom.
I've heard of people being like, they're like, oh, do 10, like the whole bag at once, like the 10-gram bag,
Yeah.
and then they do it, and then they're like, it was trippy and everything, but I felt really sick.
Right.
And that's just from,
so just doing too much of it.
Yeah,
really
that's
seems to
from
be
what I
the-
hear.
The red flag.
yeah.
Yep. Overall, it's like fairly safe, fairly easy.
Thanks. Wait, maybe we should do a dab first. We should get some weed before we throw out the other substances first.
I'm not going to object to any of these things. It's fine.
Got some
Yeah, see, we need
weed
Chris here.
extracts. Yeah. Chris is
We need
quite the
Chris here.
expert.
Well, he really is the urban shaman,
Right.
so
Yeah,
he can
yeah.
tell us all about what kratom really is, where it comes from, and all that
Yeah.
kind of good stuff. Because I don't have the slightest clue.
I know it's
Plant
popular.
derivative.
I know people really like it, and it's
It
probably
is.
like very good for. I think a lot of people are using it for pain
Right.
management. Like it's nice to use with cannabis as well, so it just sort of offsets nerve
Right.
pain and stuff like that.
So that's why I was interested in trying it, because I have a bad back pain, and when I was talking to someone from the shaman, they suggested that I try the kratom,
Totally.
and I'd been like waiting to try it, and it was one of those things where it like sat around for so long. I was like not something I necessarily wanted to ingest, so I was like, I'll just try it on Pod TV.
That's the best way to do
There's
these
no
things.
safer space to
Do it
try
in front of a
things.
live audience.
Yeah, exactly.
And it will make your back feel better, because I broke my ankle a couple months back, and so my ankle is constantly in pain.
Like the achy kind of pain.
Yeah, like
right?
it's like muscles and the actual spot where they did the surgery, and then it's like my foot's not used to walking quite
right.
to the
Still
same.
stiff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I found like that was like some actual relief
Yeah.
of that for the first time
Yeah, you should totally try it on your
in
finger.
a
yeah.
very long time.
Yeah.
We need a torch that
Need
doesn't
a
suck.
medicinal-
I don't know if we have any of those.
In
my
the lounge.
They
Yeah, they
get
all-
broken so fast.
They all kind of suck.
butane shortage.
That one, oh, I know that one. Yeah,
Is
it's
that
not
one-
going to work for you.
No,
Is that
this
one not gonna
this
work
is
at
not
all?
doing its
No.
thing
Okay,
at
hold
all.
on. Let me get you a new one.
I need a dab. So a dab, which we're gonna take off this new piece, this new store piece that we're smoking on.
Cute. I love it.
Isn't it adorable? It's a broski
Yeah,
piece.
Broski and his snails. the
Yeah.
slugs.
He donated it to Cannabis Culture headquarters when he brought a bunch of gorgeous new pipes in and a really cool slug recycler. I've never seen a slug recycler before.
That's true,
so
actually. Yeah,
And the
I've
function
seen the
is
slugs,
insane.
but this is different.
Yeah.
It's really cute.
I love this one.
We're really spoiled for glass.
It's true.
in
Look at the
BC.
little eyes on this guy.
Yeah, like
The eyes are so perfect. It's so cute.
and the slimy tail detail is really cute too. Like there is a little bit of coloring in the tail. It looks like.
Yeah. Super talented. And his pieces are really consistent too. You can find them at Cannabis Culture headquarters and online at cannabisculturehq.com. Oh, torch incoming.
Gorgeous,
There we go.
one of a kind pieces.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All right, this
I
one's
love
a
these
little
little
better.
guys.
Same torch actually works.
Yay! Okay. That's more like it.
Yes. And can't you get those pieces on cannabisculturehq.com? I think you can.
Yes. Yes, you can.
I think
Sure
you
we
can. Somebody already
It's
say
been
that.
plugged. It's been plugged.
Oh, okay. He's like, I want to get up on the table.
He usually lies on tables, I have to say, like, so it's just a thing that he does.
No, that's a hot
He
nail.
wants a dab.
Yeah.
He's trying.
No, you go for it.
Oh.
You go for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just smoked a big
He's very
fatty.
inquisitive, though. He's like paying attention to everything.
Yeah, he's into it. He knows that stuff's going down.
He knows it's pot TV.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to come down today.
Gotta look good.
Yeah.
He
Gonna take
didn't insist on
pictures of
coming by. I really like doing dabs, but I find there's just way too many accoutrements involved for me. Like, I can't remember to bring all of the stuff involved in order to, like, do it. Like, I can barely remember to bring weed. Yeah, so it's just like, I have to have the dabber, the thing, the right kind of thing.
I've gotten in the bad habit of forgetting my dabs lately too.
It's so easy. Well, they're so small. Like,
Right.
How often have people probably, like, accidentally thrown away their dabs? 'Cause they're
Basically,
just, like,
every shift I've worked in store, I'll like show up and I'll like find a moment between things. I'll be like, yeah, and I'm gonna go get high, and then I'll go and check, and those will be the days when I didn't bring my extracts with
didn't
me.
bring it. It's like forgetting your lunch. It's like, oh.
That's when I'm so glad we have small portions available at the Cannabis Culture Lounge.
Exactly. If you
Enough
fit,
dabs to get me through the
totally
day.
fine. Exactly.
Yeah.
Doesn't take much.
Did you maybe want a bong rip or anything?
No, you go for it. You
All
go
right.
for it. Thanks, though.
All right. Well, I'm gonna check some of this Kratom. See how this goes down.
I'm curious to hear your thoughts about it. I think that you'll like it.
I hope so. I'm usually a pretty open-minded person when it comes to most things. So.
The frustrating thing with all of these types of like herbal medicines and herbal things is that the dosage is going to vary for everybody, and so that's what we were talking about before. It's just really hard to know, even if you know somebody's body weight and exactly how much they're taking. It's sort of hard to know exactly how you're going to respond to it. So just take it in moderation until you figure it out. Same with eating weed too. Like if you're going to be eating like any kind of infused cannabis food, you got to give it a little taste test first, because you never really know what kind of dosage people are using.
But that's
Yeah.
part of what's so nice about the natural medicine is like, it really is that same way with every person. So to go and, to deal with pain by just getting a prescription and having X dosage, it doesn't give you the same flexibility to play with your medicine and find the balance that works exactly right for you. Like, sometimes there's some days when I want to stack my dabs between certain layers of things, and that's what's going to make me feel the right level of medicated that I need to get through the day. And every day it's different, I don't think there is any set dosage for any substance for anyone. So that to me, I think is part of the appeal of the natural medicines, and what we should be looking more towards is a model for pharmaceuticals in the future.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And like, of course, pharmaceuticals are not flexible like that, right? You're like,
No.
I'm just going to take 2 today because I'm just feeling a little more hurty than yesterday. It's like, that's not a good idea. You got to just like stick to that prescription. But definitely like with weed, some days I'm like not really that into smoking. Other days I'm like puffing
Super
hard.
chronic. Yeah.
It just kind of varies totally depending on how you're feeling that day. So.
It's true. I'm usually pretty chronic, but there's some days when I'll like look at the time and I'll be like,
Yeah.
what? Yeah, it's like 4:20 now, and this is my first doobie.
Yep, exactly.
This tastes pretty good. I didn't mind it, actually. It does remind me of matcha in a lot of ways.
I think if you have a green tea mindset when you try it, then
it makes it a
you're
little
on the right
easier to
track.
go down. Yeah.
It's pretty palpable.
It is an interesting sensation going down. Yeah. You can kind of tell it's a substance.
There's stuff in there.
There's something happening.
There's stuff happening.
Feel free to have some if
Okay,
you'd
I'm
like some.
curious. I'll have a little sip. Oh, he's going for it.
Oh,
He's going for it.
hello.
Looks good.
He likes the bongs.
He's gentle. He's dainty, and when he's on a table, like I don't worry about him knocking over stuff.
He's a pretty good boy.
Just gonna steal the show for a minute.
Yeah. Oh, he's a hamming it up.
Well, I do have some other things that we want to try and talk about with Chris.
Just perfect.
I'm really happy about this.
He's a good co-host. Like
Yes.
he chills. He insists.
while we're waiting for Chris to get here, I found pretty cool video with Bill Maher talking about psilocybin on Overtime show. So
much better.
I think that would be a pretty cool video that you guys might be interested.
I love Bill Maher so much with the weed and all of his weed love.
He's great.
I love him.
He's great.
Yeah.
So I found this little rant that Alyssa can play for you guys now.
And finally, new rule. This Halloween, stop fretting that some stranger is going to put drugs in your kid's candy. And put the drugs in there yourself. Come on, this is America. Acid will be the healthiest thing they eat all day. Do it. Put drugs in the Halloween candy. Now, I know what you're thinking. Bill Maher, what a thing to say. We all know that too much of any drug can cause permanent damage. Just look at Rush Limbaugh. You can't just decide to give a bunch of innocent, drug-free kids some sort of psychedelic. What if it interacts badly with their Wellbutrin, their Abilify, their Adderall, their Ritalin, and their Monster Energy drink? Yes. See?
They're laughing. You're such a populist. You are.
The kids are on drugs, all right. The problem is they're on the wrong drugs. They're on a combination of processed sugar, so they can be mini coke fiends, and mind-narrowing pharmaceutical crap like Ritalin that doesn't open up their minds, it levels and controls them. These drugs are all about keeping ratty children in check, or as we used to call it, parenting.
Fair enough.
Oh, see, now you have to think about it.
Now you think
Adderall is the drug of choice these days on campus. Oh, what fun. I don't know what I'd enjoy more, the extremely focused parties or the highly detail-oriented sex. But here's the thing. When Steve Jobs was young, the drug of choice was acid. And Jobs told his biographer that dropping acid as a young man was one of the best things he ever did, because when he took it with his girlfriend, the wheat field started playing Bach, which is pretty unbelievable. A computer nerd had a girlfriend? Now, maybe there's not a connection between LSD and genius, but it's something no great American ever said about a Kit Kat bar. If it weren't for acid, you might not have an iPod. And you definitely wouldn't have some of the best music in your iPod.
You're yelling there, brother. You're yelling Oh, you had to put us on this show?
I'm turning them around now.
You had to put us on this show?
Francis Crick discovered the structure of DNA while on acid. The Beatles made Sgt. Pepper while on acid. I made DC Cab while on acid. And the list goes on and on. And it's not just anecdotal. In a study from Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine last month, scientists found that a single dose of psilocybin, which is the drug in magic mushrooms, created a, quote, long-term positive personality change in most patients. People improved in the areas of sensitivity, imagination, and broad-minded tolerance of others. In pharmaceutical speak, psilocybin is known as an asshole inhibitor. And couldn't we use a little more of that? Have you seen a Republican debate lately? If ever there was a group who could stand to take a sensitivity pill and employ broad-minded tolerance of others, it's these people. This nation faces enormous challenges, and the biggest idea we've heard from them so far was, let's build a fence that electrocutes Mexicans. Steve Jobs literally learned to think different. And if you can get that insight from LSD or mushrooms, or for that matter, from licking a toad, then bring me Kermit the Frog and I'll stick my tongue right down his throat. All right, that's our show. I will be appearing at the William Saroyan Theater in Fresno on October 30th, and right here in LA on November 5th at the Gibson Amphitheater. I want to thank Michelle Goldberg, Cornell West, Michael Ware, Ron Christie, Grover Norquist. Watch us on Overtime right now.
So good. So good.
Yeah, Bill. He's
Tell it
good.
like it is, Bill.
I got a kick out of that. I thought
He's
that
not
was
always
pretty well
right,
put.
but he's mostly right.
Yeah, I appreciate that he goes out there and says stuff. You know, I don't
Yeah.
always agree, but
Sometimes he tries to be politically incorrect on purpose.
yeah.
That was
Or
the name of his
devil's
former
advocate,
show.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
You know.
But I think some of his stuff about like torturing Muslims or whatever it is, some of that's a little harsh. But yeah, he's
I
definitely
haven't
right
heard
on
that. I haven't heard that.
Oh,
actually,
he's a bit
but
of a hawk when it comes to sort of the racial profiling thing.
That's
I don't know
unfortunate.
why he supports racial profiling
Well, I
because he
like
says,
his thoughts on
it's all
LSD.
Muslims doing it, but that's not even true, really. Honestly, in the United States, a lot of the terrorism is Christians. You know,
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
it really comes down to
Totally.
it. Timothy McVeigh types.
Yeah,
those
fundamental religion of any kind
Right.
is bad, but yeah.
So
Yeah.
right now, speaking of religion, right now I'm rolling a spliff, I guess you could call it, with some Temple of Calyx weed and
Nice.
some Blue Lotus.
Blue Lotus.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is pretty amazing substance, and
Yeah.
it has a lot of religious history behind it, which I know a bit about, but I know Mr. Vandermeer here knows a bit
Well,
more about
I
it to
don't-
talk
I
about.
don't know
Well,
a heck of a lot about it, but I do know that Blue Lotus has been used by cultures around the world, including the Egyptian culture, for its psychedelic properties or its psychoactive properties, I guess. Because Blue Lotus really doesn't have psychedelic properties, but it does definitely activate your brain, and it has, I think, what a lot of cultures believe, or what people use it for, is dream enhancement.
Totally.
And
It has
when-
opiate-like properties. I would say it's not an opiate, but it has opiate-like properties, and then it has that thoughtfulness to it.
For sure. There's a lot of pictures of the hieroglyphs in ancient Egypt of women sniffing the lotuses, and they were the lotus sniffers back in the day.
How'd you
And
be doing that?
Yeah, they would pass them around, and there's
Out
actually these
sniffing
very,
lotus.
very beautiful carvings or paintings on the walls that show, these Egyptian women passing the lotuses around. And I wonder if I can find one of those here. Let's see. Yeah, they're just very beautiful. And there's probably a little history about it here.
yeah,
And they taste really good.
just amazing. You know what they remind me of is if you've ever smoked rose-flavored hookah. That's what it reminds me of when I smoked it the first time.
It's definitely floral.
Yeah.
The best experience I ever had with Blue Lotus flower was actually when it was infused with wine.
Whoa, my
Yeah.
gosh,
Yeah.
that sounds amazing.
Apparently, like, using it with alcohol, I think, is the best way to really, like, get out all of the best properties of it.
Interesting.
Nymphaea caerulea is the
Yeah, that's
Latin
the one.
name.
That's the one. Yep.
They
Yep.
call it the Egyptian lotus also.
That totally
Oh.
makes sense. I think that they harvest it along the Nile and stuff like that too. Like you see it a lot in Egypt.
Yeah, I'm going to try and find the lotus sniffers.
It tastes amazing though, and it has some similar characteristics to marijuana in a lot of ways. It makes you feel relaxed,
Thoughtful, sedative a little bit,
and, yeah. I find
depending
it-
on how you are.
There's Chris. Perfect timing. We were just talking about Blue Lotus.
Yeah,
Good timing.
pass it over here. So you can be in the hot seat. There's a microphone for you. Cheers.
Welcome to Pod TV.
Happy to be here.
We were just, I'm just rolling up a doobie with some Blue Lotus in it, and we were talking a little bit about the history of Blue Lotus.
Well, they say the ancient Egyptians, it was a sacred plant to them, and traditionally they mix it with wine. And that's usually the way it's consumed.
That's how
I don't know how much of an effect you get from smoking. I think you'd have to smoke a heck of a lot to really get any sort of psychoactive effect. And even with wine, I think you probably need 6 or 7 grams per person or something to kind of start to get the kind of opiate-like dreamy effect.
Here's some of I'm trying to find the pictures, the Egyptian photos of them sniffing the lotuses. These ones here where they're like, oh, yeah, they're.
Oh yeah. Yeah, just hanging out sniffing
Lotus sniffers.
lotus.
Can you see it?
You know.
You know.
You know how it is.
Yeah, it's too bright. Yeah.
Here, I gotta bring brights down.
It's nice. They look like angel trumpet flowers,
Is that any better? Is that too dark?
or like a white morning glory kind of a look to them.
Too dark, maybe? Yeah, touchscreens.
Okay, buddy.
Here, there's a
I love adding Blue Lotus. to
Oh, too
make
bright.
you feel better.
Does that work? Okay.
It does. Sorry.
Oh, but yeah. So basically, yeah, an ancient Egyptian plant that they used to use. Apparently, ate it and drank it in wine.
Yeah. And so, yeah, and I mean, were they were trying to get the psychoactive properties
Oh
of it
yeah,
as
no,
well.
for sure. Yeah, for sure. Maybe that growing and things like that affect the psychoactivity of it. I've used it a few times, and I think the only time I've really ever felt any real effect of it was when I've taken it in wine. Coca's good.
And what was the effect when you took it?
It's
Like
kind
an
of
opiate?
like a chill, I'd say that kratom's a lot more pronounced for an effect for that type of thing. If you were using kratom and then you tried some Blue Lotus, you'd probably be a little disappointed in the difference in effects.
We're doing both, so we're covered.
Yeah,
we're covered
exactly.
today.
Would you like a sip of kratom lemonade?
I'm okay on the kratom right now, but I do partake of it once in a while for sure. It's a
Can you
wonderful
tell
plant
us
thing.
about the kratom, Chris?
Kratom's a big leaf of a tree from Asia, and in small amounts, it's a stimulant. A small amount would be like 2.5 to 5 grams, and then when you get up over 5-gram dosages, it gets to be more opiate, kind of like the THC and CBD in cannabis. There's a couple of different chemicals in kratom that come out in different dosages, and one of them is quite stimulating, and one of them is more kind of opiate and pain reducing, And I find kratom really gives me a focused concentration. I sell a lot of kratom in my shop, and I'd say probably about 20 to 25, maybe even 30% of the people that buy it are using it to get off opiates. So a lot of people have become addicted to opiate-based drugs via doctors mostly. Most of the stories I hear are people were given this Oxycontin, and that's super addictive, and then they get cut off from their doctor, and then they start buying on the streets, and maybe they can't get it a couple times. They get some heroin or something like that, and all of a sudden they're locked into the opium. And I think it's a much better alternative than the methadone, which is so hard to break free of. Like most people I know on methadone are afraid to leave a 2-mile radius of their drugstore in case they can't make it to get their meds.
Well, it's just about as bad as the heroin.
Yeah, just about as bad as the heroin. You'll get high though, And the kratom is very effective for alleviating the effects of heroin and opiate withdrawal, and much easier to wean yourself off of. I'd say it's got an addictive quality, maybe about on par with coffee or something, but nothing like heroin.
Yeah.
And then a lot of business people use it for stimulation and concentration for energy. There's different strains, kind of like cannabis. There's some that are, sativa prominent, and some that are indica prominent. There's different strains of kratom that some are really good for the stimulating and wake-up effects, and others are better for more opiate-like effects.
So I tried the Bali today. Would it be more of a stimulating
I'd
effect?
say that both. All of them have both chemicals in it, so you can get stimulating effects from Bali. But I would say Bali is probably the most opiate-like, and that generally people looking to detox off of opiates, heroin, and things like that are seeking out the Bali kratom.
Wow, that's awesome. Very cool. Very cool.
Chris, remember the blue lagoons that you had?
That was a great product. It was a mixture of scaledium and cacao.
I love scaledium.
And sassafras. And it was like this really nice product made in Australia that was kind of ecstasy-like in its effects. A little more chill, kind of like maybe somewhere between weed and ecstasy.
Because scaledium is really nice.
Scaledium is a traditional cannabis admixture. It's an SSRI, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, and in South Africa it was traditionally mixed with daga cannabis, along with lion's tail, also called wild daga. And it's good in a smoke, If you like, sometimes I'll be, working in my shop and I get asked 10 million of the same questions, and sometimes in a day, and I'm just like, and I'll put a pinch of scaledium in a joint, and it kind of puts me in a little chipper mood. It's kind of like if you're not depressed, you take an antidepressant. This is going to put you in an even better mood.
Totally, it gives it a little bit of a sativa effect to it. I find.
It's, I think out of all the things that can be mixed with cannabis, scaledium is one of the best because you get an actual uplifting kind of peppy thing to your joint. It doesn't taste bad or anything like that. You don't need a whole lot.
Totally.
Is that available at Urban Shaman?
Scaledium.
Oh, I've never tried that. I would be interested in trying that.
It's also known as
it's a succulent.
It's called something else too, right? Scaledium.
Canna.
Is the other.
It's which is actually the original name of cannabis in Indo-European language. But it's a succulent from South Africa, so it's kind of like cactus related.
Like an aloe kind of.
Like an aloe type of thing.
Very cool. You do have another very interesting succulent. I believe it's a succulent available in your store as well, the peyote.
Peyote, yeah, we're lucky to probably be the only retail store to actually have peyote in Canada, I'm sure, live and dried. And it's, strangely enough, for our American viewers, peyote is completely legal in Canada. It's a federal offense. Any amount of peyote in the United States is a federal offense. But when you look in the charter and in Canada under scheduled substances, it says mescaline and all its salts, but not peyote. And that was because they would have had to create a special religious exemption for Native American church and other groups that use it ceremonially. That would have opened it up to other religious exemptions, like the one I tried to get for cannabis in the courts. So it would have set a precedent. So they decided, because it wasn't easily available, it's illegal to import any cactus of any kind into Canada, that wasn't much of an issue. So yeah, no, it's a beautiful little cactus. Takes forever to grow.
Forever, right?
You know, it's a shame because it's endangered, because a lot of people have picked it in the wild. If you cut it properly, just kind of above the base of the ground, it'll actually grow back and regenerate. But a lot of people were pulling it right out of the ground. And so it's been decimated in a lot of its natural habitat. It's also illegal to grow peyote in much of its natural habitat. It's a federal offense, so people can't cultivate it legally unless you're in the Native American church and have a special license. So it's a shame. It's so ironic that a plant would be illegal where it's from.
Yeah, that is totally ironic.
So that's beyond law. This is I don't know. Like, it's hard for me to get behind fighting for things like crack and methamphetamine and heroin, but I certainly can stand behind coca and peyote and poppy and even ephedra, and all these plants. And I think that plants, and that's a big thing about my shop, the Urban Shaman, is that I really believe plants are a natural right. It's a fundamental human right. We've had a long-standing historical relationship with these plant medicines, and they've been guides and spiritual tools and medicines throughout history, and that anything is like against nature. There are laws against nature and humanity's natural relationship with the plant world.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally agreed.
Yeah,
Totally agreed.
it doesn't make any sense whatsoever that the natural medicine isn't available
It seems
to people.
totally insane, actually, when we're trying on this planet Earth to protect species and all these kinds of things. They have this whole program for protecting certain species, but then you have things like the DEA saying they want to eradicate plants off the face of the earth. Literally, that's their mandate.
Well, it wasn't, just a few years back they were talking about creating, funguses and things like that to attack cannabis plantations and looking for genetic waste. Just imagine how easily something could go awry with a situation like that. And all of a sudden we're starting to see nature decimated by some cockamamie plan.
It's insane to think that any group, or especially a governmental one, would have their mandate to eradicate a species.
Yeah.
I guess that sounds
When has
a little...
that ever been successful, other
Right.
than animals that we've accidentally made
These
go
people
extinct?
need to do these plants is the situation,
Totally.
It's funny because
true.
just as the way like dogs and cats are kind of like ambassadors to the animal world and show us that animals contain, the emotional spectrum and intelligence that we have, these plants are ambassadors to the natural world. It's pretty hard to eat some mushrooms and take a walk in the forest and not begin to see the living entity that is the forest. And harder yet to go back in and totally chop that down and decimate it after you've had that experience. And I think that's a big difference between Western culture and South American and some of these places where people maintain this indigenous relationship with plants, is their incredibly close relationship with the natural world around them. And that's what we're missing, and that's what we've been separated from, and that's what these plants lead us back to.
Yeah,
So true.
that's extremely true. That's perfectly put. I'm a huge fan of mushrooms. I think they're one of the best medicines there are out there.
nice.
I find them I never have any negative effects from them the next day or anything like that. I always walk away feeling like I've been recharged.
Totally. Like a
spiritually,
reset a little
mentally.
bit.
Yeah, and I always walk away with some crazy lesson that just sticks with me for forever. And it's always like a life-changing experience. And it's just, And mushrooms, I think, is one of the
Everybody
most
should do mushrooms.
powerful, and I think
Yeah,
that there
so
couldn't
nice.
possibly be a better name for them than magic mushrooms, because I think they are truly such a magical substance. I think they're amazing.
Yeah, it's great to see some current research going on for it, for near-death anxiety, depression, and other things.
Yeah,
Getting a lot of good press.
And I wouldn't be surprised if some of the medical clubs start providing mushrooms to their patients and
I
stuff like
hope
that.
so. I
Because
really
it's-
hope that's the
it's
next
it's
step.
another
Well,
wonderful medicine.
Interestingly enough, I was working on getting an interview with someone who has a dispensary in East Van, and they have started selling mushrooms
Yep.
at their dispensary.
That's good.
Not I can't remember the name of it right now, but not like hallucinogenic mushrooms, but mildly psychoactive and like alternative medicine style mushrooms, which is I think a step in the right direction.
You sell Amanita, don't you?
Amanita muscaria is kind of a bit of a delirium. It's nothing like psilocybin mushroom. It can be a lot of depth perception changes, kind of induces a bit of a dreamy state,
Yeah.
You sell psilocybin too?
No. No, I try not to sell anything that's directly scheduled so that I can stay open and maintain,
Good idea. That's wise.
maintaining access to what plants I can get.
Yeah.
Totally.
You had some other really interesting, I tried to remember some of them, but you have a lot of really interesting plants and herbs there that I saw.
Some plants I can sell, it would be illegal to ingest them. So it's in this kind of gray area. Like the plants that are used in the preparation of ayahuasca, for instance, be illegal to brew them together, but individually you can sell the dried plant matter. So I I can't really talk about to people about ingestion and things like that, but I can provide the dried plant matter. And it's my belief that it's none of my business after that. I'm sticking to the law, and hopefully nobody breaks it.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
can you do?
What can you do?
What do you think of the trend of people going down to South America to try ayahuasca?
Well,
That's kinda trendy right now.
I think that
It's a cool thing.
we need to be careful with ayahuasca because all the vine and stuff like that's out in the jungle and wild, and so it can be depleted fairly quick, and then the indigenous users of these substances begin to start having a hard time getting
true.
access
It has to be
to it.
sustainable for
And
sure.
then the
for
whole,
sure.
idea is like you're doing like this thing to better yourself, but then you go off in a plane and totally
Yeah.
pump out all that stuff. And
Yeah.
really, any journey on a psychedelic is happening inside. It's great to go down there, and I'm not saying it's not a bad thing to do, but any psychedelic journey like that is happening inside of you. The idea that you might want to have a guide is reasonable, but then at the same time, there's just as many scammers in the shamanic world as there is healers. And unfortunately, some people go down and they have very negative experiences. And people have even died down in South America due to inappropriately or improperly made brews and things like that have datura and other things in them to give them a little bit more of a kick. And so there is certain dangers. If you are going to do like that, you want to really research it, maybe talk to people that have gone down to see the particular shaman that you're going to see, things like that. And it could be an experience of a lifetime or the nightmare of a lifetime.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I think generally most people have a good experience, but you have to be careful. It's a shame that there is ayahuasca circles happening in North America. There's no doubt about it. People are doing it, but they have to be kind of clandestine about it because of the legality of the situation. Hopefully, we can start moving towards seeing some sort of movement around legalization of that. There has been groups like the University Vegetae in the United States has gotten access to ayahuasca down there through some sort of permit. And there's been attempts to do the same sort of thing here in Canada. And hopefully this leads to some sort of wider thing where people that are interested in these things can do it in a safe and healing environment.
Totally, because I think it's interesting. It's an interesting thing to do it in a ceremonial kind of a fashion like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I'm more of the Aldous Huxley, school of shaman. There's all these different groups with all these different beliefs that do it. And so if you do it with some of them, you're taking a certain amount of their dogma and belief system in it. And I'm not so ready to put a lot of my own thoughts and ideas about the universe and what I know about science and stuff at the door when I do these things. So I guess I'm kind of more the Aldous Huxley school of shamanism, and it's more about the plant teacher and my own consciousness than somebody teaching about it. Not to say that there's not inherent wisdom from people that have been partaking of these things and are familiar with these states.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Really
and that I
interesting.
think is another really one of the great purposes for these plants is the religious experience that you get from so many of them and spiritual gains that you get from them. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people recently. I've never tried acid, but I'm a really big fan of mushrooms, and I've had a lot of people strongly suggest that acid would be something that I would maybe be interested in because, you know, the
Definitely.
spiritual experiences from that, which I know it isn't a plant, but it has some similar properties in some ways to a lot of the substances. It's like, sounds pretty profound.
Yeah, a lot of these things affect the pineal gland, you know, which is right in the center of the brain. This is thought to be the third eye in a lot of traditions. And it's really tied up with instinctual function, you know. Pineal gland decides when you, you know, makes you go to sleep, and it controls the menstrual cycle, controls when animals fly south and things like that. And it's really interwound with the instinctual habits of the species. And Carl Jung said the collective unconscious was the instinctual force in humanity. And so if there is some sort of aspect of collective consciousness, it's probably located in there. And we're probably tapping into some sort of hereditary memory or something like that when we take substances that really activate this really little known about gland.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Totally.
it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I don't know. I've been able to experience certain things with my mind on different substances that there's just like simply no way to, and you're able to gain a certain level of knowledge and understanding that it's just the regular sober human brain, especially in a 9-to-5 Western culture, it's just not able to experience.
Oh yeah,
and
no, I've
see.
definitely had psychic experiences on LSD and mushrooms and things like that. You know, you don't even have to talk to your friend; you can just go, huh? You know,
So cool.
it's they're magical for sure.
Yeah, it's true. I have an interesting archival video I found the other day online of a U.S. Army acid test, and some soldiers who are asked to fall into formation and do some basic drill movements, and then they come back a little while later when they're high on LSD and asked to do the same drill. So I have that video here for Alyssa to play. If you guys want to get high and watch that.
These poor soldiers, they must have been so confused. No.
This.
And then just
A typical drill sergeant ordered his men to fall in. The squad, composed of volunteers for the test, responded like well-trained soldiers, immediately and without question. On the drill field, the men obeyed his commands accurately and with precision. A second drill sergeant assumed command. He put the squad through its paces capably. This man also proved to be an able drill sergeant, giving precise commands. Hours later, the squad, all except the drill sergeant, now drugged with LSD, again was ordered to fall in. The response was not the same. The squad leader thought it was not necessary for him to dress right. There was much laughter as the group attempted to give expression to inner emotions. This elation was group supported, and an individual who was separated from the group would show severe disturbance. Notice the volunteer who salutes several times. 5 minutes later, his severe depression caused the medical officers to end his participation.
thoughts and actions of the drill sergeant who did not receive LSD were as before. But in marching, the drug squad, although starting fairly well, gave a sluggish and ragged performance. After a few minutes, the men found it difficult to obey orders, and soon the results were chaotic. The second drill sergeant, who had performed effectively earlier in the day, was now given command of the squad. He too had received LSD, and he no longer was an effective leader. When an officer ordered the leader to drill the squad, he responded with, "You want them drilled? You drill them." Ordered to leave the field, he refused to go. In answer to a direct question, he said he was capable of drilling the men and was instructed to do so. Minutes later, it was evident that he was unable to carry out his orders, and he was escorted from the field. We have seen some of the effects of LSD. What effect would it have on a vital operation? Further research is required to give us that answer.
Oh, hello. So that was an army acid test. And I think things like that make it pretty apparent, the obvious fact that they didn't really feel like obeying orders, and they kind of saw how pointless the task that they were being asked to do was. Is pretty obvious why.
Well,
to
it's
me, one of the
interesting that you
reasons
say that, because there were U.S. government projects like MK Ultra and Project Art, which were mind control attempts with LSD and other substances, and very, very harsh. It would dose people without their knowledge, civilians
that would be so
sometimes.
scary.
And one story I heard was this army guy who got dosed. He went into the barracks. Everybody had his face, you know what I mean? And he ended up jumping out a window or something like that. Just totally freaked out and spoiled his mind. So at the same time that these substances can be tools of enlightenment, in the wrong hands, they can be tools of enslavement and breaking people's minds and terrifying people. And it's unbelievable the way that the U.S. government and even the Canadian government were using it in the early 50s and 60s and stuff.
One positive story I heard about acid and LSD was in Saskatchewan, of all places, in the 60s, they were using acid to help alcoholism.
Yeah, lots of success with that.
Right? There was a lot of success with it, and for some reason they just abandoned the project, but it was something that they were using for a long
as well
time
as with
as a means.
convicts as well, and they found that there was less of a chance of re-emitting crimes, and that type of thing.
Totally.
Yeah, one of the people who actually did that is someone I'm a really big fan of, Timothy Leary, and he did a study to try to see the effects that it could have on inmates' behaviors, along with a lot of the other interesting tests he did while he was still a university professor before being fired for being extremely controversial. And I am a huge Timothy Leary fan. I've read a lot of his stuff, and if you haven't, I highly encourage you to. It's very enlightening. It talks he played a really big role in the war on drugs. He was the professor if people don't know, he was the professor who was dosing students with acid, as well as, teachers' assistants, other teachers.
Probably before it was illegal.
Yeah,
technically,
before it
right?
was
Before it
illegal.
was
This is,
Before it
this
was
is,
legal,
you know,
yeah.
some people would say
Technically,
this
it
is
was like
what led to
underground.
the illegality was the looseness on the university campuses
Exactly.
with these substances and stuff like that. But,
Yeah.
But it's not a harmful
but things,
substance.
people didn't know. We were just kind of finding out about it,
Right.
and it was pretty incredible, and they wanted to share the experience. And I think most of it was good. There's
Yeah.
been some
Yeah.
nightmares out there, but most of it's been pretty good.
And they
That was
did.
very
They did try
positive.
to arrest him when not long after he was fired, he moved to New York, and the mayor of that town became extremely concerned that it was going to ruin the town, that he was going to degrade everyone, and everyone was going to be doing acid and having orgies all the time. So he made a mission to get him arrested, and
Ruined the town.
and he tried to have him arrested, but since LSD wasn't illegal, there wasn't anything they could do. And not long afterwards is when they got him for 20 years for marijuana possession.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Not even his. He
Brutal.
just had to take the rap, or else his daughter or something. His daughter or his wife, I forget whose it was.
Yeah, I
but
think it was his daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Brutal.
so and
No, they really went after him.
yeah, he
Well,
was,
and the study you're talking about, the prison one, was the results of it were just absolutely remarkable. I think the numbers were something like they took these inmates and, there's a reoffending rate of 80% or something.
Right.
And he was able to turn that to completely on its head. So the reoffending rate after 20 years was something like 20%.
yeah.
So big change there.
Totally.
I forget the name of the mushroom study in the 60s too, where they did it in a church, and people, the vast majority of they were seminary students, and the vast
the
majority,
clergyman.
yeah,
Yes.
reported mystical experience. They did a follow-up study like 40 years later, and people said, yeah, that still was one of the most profound experiences of their lives,
Wow.
and it, affected them for,
Kidding. The most profound experience of my life ever was on acid, for
Tell
sure.
us about that.
Well, it was about a year or some ago. I'm not even sure how long ago it was, but I've only done an acid a few times, and every time I've done it, it's been really amazing. But the time that we did it, I did it with Annette at my house, actually, and I think because philosophy is something that's important to me, and I've been studying it for a long time, the philosophy of things like mathematics and other things involved, but also the philosophy of magic and Western occult magical ideas, hermetic ideas. And Annette is a witch, and we'd kind of been doing magic together and things like that. And we were sort of intentionally taking acid to have a transcendent experience. Or I guess we thought we would. We weren't really sure. But we were rewarded with the most transcendent experience that I've ever had. We basically were like on the ground bawling our eyes out, crying and saying, thank God. It really felt to me like what you might describe, or what other religions might describe as nirvana or samadhi. This crossing over, basically feeling a feeling of complete love, and knowing that that's all there really is, and that everything is made up of that. It was the most unifying feeling that I've ever had, and it was completely inside of me. It was Gnostic. It was something that you didn't piece together from these ideas around you. It was a force within that was coming out, and it felt like the veil had been lifted, and I wasn't sure if it was the acid necessarily that did it, but it helped to do it. And I think that it definitely put us in the right direction. And man, wow, it lasted with me, and I can feel it now. I can always go back to that feeling, and I'll forever have it inside of me, this understanding that everything's going to be okay, because everything is just pure love, and that's all. The rest of it doesn't matter. But I mean, that's hard to, it doesn't sound like, it sounds pretty airy-fairy when you say it that way here in this reality, but in real, when you feel that that's true, it's something different. So
Well, the reason I haven't done acid is because part of it is because I did read a lot of Timothy Leary's work, and it made me have a big respect for it, and a lot of similar substances, in that I think that the approach to it makes a really big difference about the experience you get from it. So to me, it's like I don't know. I think that it's depends on how you approach it a lot of the time, about how.
Intent, set and setting, all these things play
Totally.
a huge role.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. For me, I didn't try acid for a long time. It's the most recent drug I've tried of all the drugs I've tried. And I think that I was waiting for a while too, because I had read so much about it or had heard.
Yeah.
And it's an intimidating thing, because it does seem people play it up so much. But for
Yeah.
me, every time I've taken acid, it has been the most pleasant experience.
I'm not intimidated by it. I'm extremely intrigued, but I have respect for it in the sense that I think that it should be, I think it should be respected as a substance, and I don't think you should just like, oh, I'll have a day off and like a little bit of extra money. Okay, like I'll just try it today. I think that it is something that I personally at least want to approach as a, as a way to become more spiritual and a way to like gain a certain level of enlightenment and a certain level of, mental and, psychological medication that you just can't receive from, other things.
For me, I think what set that time that Annette and I did it apart was that we were kind of conscious of these patterns. Part of the idea of Hermeticism is, I think, this pattern recognition of the things around you and how that sort of interplays with your own consciousness or something. So it seemed like to me there was a lot that was building up to this moment when we took this drug, or the veil was lifted by taking the substance, and then we were more able to meditate on this thing that we were already meditating on, but in a way where we were able to actually feel it and taste it and see it, rather than just it being some concept that you read about that's sitting out there.
Yeah.
So, when you put all that together and you do a little bit of meditation while you're on acid, or just even thinking about some of those deeper concepts.
Well, that's exactly
Really
it.
blows your mind.
It's there's a certain way. Like when I was reading about Timothy Leary's way explaining the tuning in, and I can never ever get it right. I always get it wrong. The tune in, drop in.
Tune in, turn on, and drop out.
That's it. When you're putting yourself into a unique mind frame, it says it, you can do it any way, whether it's walking down the beach and feeling the toes in your sand and you're doing that to really connect with something you don't really connect with. Or, for me, a lot of the time it's smoking a big joint before I meditate. I feel like there's a certain level of enlightenment that you can get to. Like, I feel like I was at a certain level of enlightenment before I did mushrooms, and it gave me a deeper appreciation for the experience that I've done mushrooms with people who don't approach it with the same aspect, and they don't even get affected at all.
Mindset makes such a huge difference with psychedelics, especially. Like your attitude going into it will have a huge effect on the trip itself. I find.
It really is the whole thing.
I grabbed a little video of one of Timothy Leary's. He put together a couple of videos. There's amazing lectures out there. Unfortunately, I didn't have an extra hour to put a full lecture of his in. But
people should seek it out, though. Like we have
sure.
YouTube now, and it's so amazing for that. You can just type in Timothy Leary and
I
Bill
would highly
Hicks and all
recommend
these
you do.
things. You can find all these great speakers on the internet.
Endless.
We do have one short clip called "How to Operate Your Brain," and he talks a little bit about different uses for your brain, and he also makes a bit of his predictions about the way technology is going. This movie's from the early 90s, so it's got some pretty interesting things.
It's probably scary accurate, I bet.
Yeah. All right, so we can roll that now.
Who controls the media? Programs your brain.
Marshall McLuhan said, change the language and you change the universe. Now, here in 1993, we are creating a new language, a language of light and electrons beamed around the world at the speed of light. The global village. Humanity united in the airwaves, united brain to brain at the speed of light. A new breed, a new language, a new human species, united, vibrating, harmonizing at the speed of light, at the speed of light.
With the pulsar, what I'm going to do from the musical point of view is to use the pulsar as a cosmic drummer. In terms of scientific research, I want to experiment if sound might be used for investigation for the universe, if sound may reflect chemical properties, maybe physical properties, maybe chemical properties. And I started to build up my catalogation of sound, celestial sound, and then to start to make comparison. I have a galaxy, next one is a pulsar, next one is a plasma wave, catalog the universe using sound.
Who programs our brains? Who programs our brains? They who control our screens. They who control our eyeballs and our earballs control our brain.
I know how it feels, and I want to go further. Why do I want to go further? To be free. Why do I want to be free? So I can choose. Why do I want to choose? Because it's more fun than being someone I didn't choose to be. This is the real essence. What all this could lead to. Breaking down your own self.
Look within. Know thyself.
And I have just seen the play Timothy and Charlie. It's a play about an actual life adventure of mine in which I was in a cell in Folsom Prison, and the next cell was Charles Manson, and some wild things happened.
The book by the humans because it offers an additional alternative.
Now, I started telling you about Argentina. I don't know whether we'll go back to that, but I'll tell you how we stopped.
They came to Socrates and said, "Stop saying that, Socrates. You're corrupting the minds of youth. There is no self. There is no knowledge. Obey. Believe." Socrates would not be stopped. He said, "Know thyself. Know thyself. Know thyself. Operate your mind. Operate your brain."
I'm not a leader. Boys are trained and I have no followers.
The multimedia language. And what's this about not interactive? Everything I've been trying to tell you today is you're not going to be passively watching the screen. You're going to be using the screen as a brain phone.
Yeah, okay. We have one video left. It's a Heady Glass video. This piece is available online at cannabisculturehq.com. Do you like it? It's pretty, eh?
Yes.
And you can also find it at 307 West Hastings. And we have some little video. Right now, Alyssa can play it to show you guys a little bit more the details of this gorgeous piece. Just discussing how right towards the end here, I'm beginning to feel the effects of the kratom, and my speech is becoming more of a challenge. So, good timing for the talk show to finish. I'm going to take one more bong rip before we go. And that's a dog. Wednesday, we have From Under the Sea Desk with Greg, Al the Alchemist, and Kush Queen in between. Thursday, we have Expert Joints with Mr. Craig. And then on Friday, we have Cannabis Culture News Live with Jeremiah Vandermeer and Johnny B. Thank you. And then it's back to me again next Monday, 4 p.m. And I'll see you then. Stay high. And, maybe think about some fun summer substances to put on your to-do list. I will see you next week.